the founder of Le Wagon in Latam, and I'm happy to say that we are having a great event tonight with Rennie, the founder of Huntr. Just for those who don't know Le Wagon, we are a tech school organizing bootcamps in both web development and data science. So we teach people tech skills to try and give a spin or sometimes a true revolution to their career, learning the skills of the future and of course of the current trend. So Rennie, thank you very much for having accepted to join us. Rennie is the founder of Huntr, a tool that we actually recommend to all of our graduates who look for a job. He'll tell us about his personal story, and also we'll have a demo of the tool, which is great. But before everything, you're in Seattle, right? So not that light here I'm in Sao Paulo, so it's a very global stuff. Thank you very much for joining us. And I let you introduce yourself, your background, how did Huntr was born and everything, and we'll start from there.
Yeah. Thank you. First of all, thanks so much for having me. Really excited to share this story with your students and show you a little bit of how Huntr works. So I'm going to share my screen here. I prepared some slides, and I'll just talk through here. So first I want to talk a little bit about the story of Huntr. Talk about Huntr, introduce Huntr in a nutshell, talk a little bit about my background, and then jump into the story. So first of all, I wanted to mention what Huntr is, what it's not. So essentially, Huntr is a tool that helps job seekers organize their search. We've had over 150,000 job seekers use the tool. Over 3.5 million jobs have been tracked with the Huntr tool. It's a tool that helps you do everything from, obviously like click jobs from different websites, put them all into a single board, track activities throughout your job search, add contact information for people that you're reaching out to or interacting with during their search. We're launching a document upload fairly soon in the next couple of weeks. So just kind of like everything you might think of that you need to manage throughout your search, Huntr can do that for you. So on the other side, we also have a B2B product for educational institutions that are placing large groups of job seekers. And that product offers a way for those organizations to track placement outcomes and kind of like showcase the talent, showcase their job seekers. So we have like a lot of boot camps using that tool, just career-oriented organizations, higher ed, like universities and colleges, that sort of thing. In terms of the company is completely bootstrapped. We haven't received 1 cent of funding. We're profitable. I started it as a solo founder. Last year, brought in my first employee, Sam. He's an account executive. We're still a super small team. It's just the two of us still. We really want to grow the team to 4 people by the end of the year. And it's looking like we're going to be able to manage doing that. So that's all to say this is not a story of a very big company receiving venture capital. This is very much kind of like a bootstrap solo founder story. Quick background on me. So I was born and raised in Ecuador, in a city called Guayaquil. I have a bachelor's in business from the Florida International University of Miami. Ended up working in Miami for a couple of years as a marketing manager there. Eventually decided I wasn't really into marketing, so I decided to go to Canada to do a bachelor's in computer science. And I was 25 at that point. Pretty big pivot from marketing. Graduated from University of British Columbia with a computer science degree. Went to work for a startup for a couple of years and eventually started Huntr. Left that startup to continue doing Huntr, and that's what I'm doing full time now. So that's a little bit on me, on Huntr. Let's dive into the story of the startup. So it all started in 2015. My university was doing this little hackathon and we had to come up with projects. It was me and two other friends. We didn't know what we wanted to do, but we were applying to a ton of internships at the time, kind of like summer internships at tech companies. And we were applying to so many companies. Everybody had their own Excel sheet for tracking where they were applying, where they were interviewing, etc. So I thought, like, hey, let's build something like Trello, but where each card is a job. And you move these jobs through different stages, like applied, interview, offer, etc. And that's really where the whole thing started at this hackathon. We built it. It was really nice, but honestly, like after a few months, we forgot about it. It was very much an MVP. This is what Huntr looked like back then for that hackathon. A lot of the core components, you'll notice if you have used Huntr now, they're all there. It's just much more polished now. So, like I said, a few years passed, and I graduated, and the idea of Huntr kept coming to me. I thought, like, well, there's nothing out there that really makes this process of organizing your job search easy. So in late 2016, I decided to kind of like dust off the old project and see if there was something there. So I built this landing page. I didn't like polish the product or anything. First thing was building a landing page, showing how Huntr could look like. I posted on beta list and a couple of subreddits, just to see what people thought about it, get some validation, get some emails. And I got a couple hundred, like 200 or 300 signups to like get early access to the product that wasn't really fully built yet. So that was enough for me to kind of like go ahead and build an MVP. So I took about 3 months. So we had built the original version in one day. It was super messy. So kind of like threw away all of that code and started from scratch. Rebuilt the whole product. It took 3 to 4 months in early 2017 to do this. And then in April 2017, at the time, well, still a product hunt is one of the best ways of kind of like launching new products into the world. So I had planned for about 3 weeks this product hunt launch. I was preparing assets. It was supposed to go out in early May. But my girlfriend at the time sent my site to a friend of his, and he posted it for me on Product Hunt. It was like 10 p.m. when he posted, which is probably one of the worst times to post. So I was like freaking out, trying to get it, bring the product down. But eventually, Product Hunt pushed me to the next day, and the product just started getting a ton of upvotes, and it ended up being the #1 product launch for that day, April 15th, 2017. And, that was incredible. Still one of the most exciting days of my life. I got a couple thousand, like 2,000 to 3,000 signups within like a few weeks, a ton of feedback from people. By this time, I was still working full time in my software engineering job at a startup in Vancouver. But it was incredible getting all that visibility, getting all that feedback, getting all that attention for the product. It really energized me and made me want to really continue pursuing the development of the product. So in late 2017, I introduced paid plans. Up until that point, Huntr was still completely free. So yeah, introduced some paid plans late 2017. Still, I was working on Huntr part-time, kind of like nights and weekends. And then in early 2018, I decided to quit my job to do this full-time. I was living very frugally at that time in Vancouver. I had saved up enough to last me for a couple of years without really assuming like Huntr wasn't going to make any money. I had about a 2-year runway to go through. At that time, Huntr was only making about $400 a month, which was, something. There was something there, but definitely not enough to kind of like live. but I decided to make the jump. I quit my job. And then in mid 2018, I started finding that a lot of the people signing up were bootcamp grads. People from Le Wagon, Lambda School, Flatiron School, App Academy, like just a lot of bootcamp grads were signing up and sharing their boards with their advisors. So at that point, I started reaching out to those advisors who were people in career centers within these boot camps and educational institutions, started having a lot of conversations about the types of things they were doing day to day. And that's really where the Huntr Advisor product came out of. All those conversations, really trying to figure out what kinds of problems these career centers were trying to solve. And it came up to be, it's just like getting visibility into what cohorts of job seekers are doing with their search so that they can better help those job seekers in getting placed in great opportunities. So I introduced a B2B version of the product. It was mostly targeted at tech boot camps at that time. The B2C side was doing well, but with SaaS businesses, you want this recurring revenue with long, customer lifetime values. With Huntr, because it's a job search tool, once the user
once they get a job,
I'm sorry, go.
Once they get a job, they
Yeah, exactly.
customer.
Once they get a job,
their success is your failure.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like churn was built, like the better the product gets and the faster they find the job, the lower the lifetime value of the customer. So there was that disconnect there between the revenue model and the product. So, the B2B product was great because educational institutions keep getting like new job seekers. They have that recurring flow of new job seekers to place. So, developed the B2B product. That went well. And then for some reason, I got obsessed with kind of like following this new path, which was, I thought that, and I still think there's great opportunity in this, but basically I tried to do what LinkedIn and Indeed do with job discovery, but better. So all of 2019, I spent building this like job discovery tool. Essentially, I thought like, hey, I really don't enjoy how Indeed presents their job or how the discovery experience is. And I thought like, I really enjoy like the Spotify product or Pinterest product. If you're discovering music or images or ideas, like those are really great products to discover. And I just didn't feel that LinkedIn or Indeed were felt the same at the same level as these other discovery products. So long story short, I ended up kind of like building this job crawler that went to like the career sites of like thousands of employers, grab that information, kind of like put it in an Elasticsearch database, and kind of like built a nicer UI around this. It was great. I learned a ton, but I completely derailed from like the revenue side B2B product, which was really the bread and butter of the business. Even though I didn't spend any time selling the B2B side, I was still closing deals, just from people scheduling demos on their own through the main site I had then. So I finished 2019 with about $5,000 monthly recurring revenue, which is about, $60K in annual revenue there, annual recurring revenue. So, by 2020, I decided, like this thing is like being pulled out of me, like the B2B product, like people are closing these deals, or they're asking for this product. I'm closing these deals. So I decided, let me refocus on that, because that's, as a bootstrap startup, like it's always about, especially in SaaS, it's always about monthly recurring revenue. How are you growing that number? So I refocused on the B2B side. Early 2020, updated my landing page, optimized it for scheduling demos. And then by this is what the new landing page looked like. And then by mid 2020, I focused on selling. So then during 2020 and 2021, there was this sort of like back and forth between like building and selling. Essentially, I went through like 2-3 month periods of building product. And then I went through 3 months of trying to sell that product, gathering insight from those demos that I was running, and increasing revenue. So, I kind of got from $5,000 to $10,000 a month during this time frame. And again, I could just see the difference between the periods I was selling. My monthly recurring revenue just went like increased like at a very rapid pace, and then when I would build, it would just stay kind of like flat. So obviously it was pretty obvious that I needed to kind of like hire somebody at that point, So in early 2021, again, I was going through another process of building, but I was figuring out like I really need like a salesperson to join the team so that I can build, they can sell, and we can keep this growth kind of like going through the times that I'm building. So by mid 2021, I was recruiting. I hired my first sales hire, an account executive. I didn't know anything about hiring. I had never hired anybody. So I just tried to get my hands on as many blog posts or resources about sales hiring, figuring out like job titles, compensation. There's just so many little things that go into hiring. Again, an incredible learning experience. If anything at all, this whole process just teaches you so much about so many different areas in such a short time period. It's really, really great. So, Sam hired Sam mid 2021, about August, so late 2021. It took about 4 months to get that hire. When I began recruiting, monthly recurring revenue was about 15,000. And since I hired Sam, we've grown a ton. We're hoping to reach $1 million in annual revenue within the next year. And hopefully, like I said, bring in two or three more team members into the company in the next 6 months to a year. So that's a little bit of the story from start to now. We're still definitely not at the stage we want to be. We're 100% focused on both the job tracker side of things for job seekers and the B2B side of things for educational institutions trying to get really high placement rates with their students. Finally, I just wanted to get some takeaways. Let me see how we're doing with time. Yeah, I think we're fine. So in terms of takeaways, from this whole story, and again, these are really tailored for, I would say, like solo founders who are doing bootstrap businesses. I think I mean, I've never gone the venture route, but I think it's quite a different experience that I don't really know much about. But if you are a solo founder bootstrapping, these would be my main takeaways. Number one, choose something that allows you to do something that you really love doing every day. So choose a business that allows you to do something you love doing. And for me, Huntr was really that, because I love full stack development. I love all the way from like design all the way to like front end and back end. And Huntr was really a really meaty product I could like dig into and spend like months just kind of like polishing and building. So if you love what you're doing every day, it's going to be a lot harder.
What's the stack that you're using?
So all the way from design, I would say like I use Sketch for design, but then in the tech side of things, React on the front end, with Redux for the data side of things on the front end, and then the back end is Node.js with Express, with an Express framework, and then Mongo for database and persistence. There's like it's grown to like a lot of things, like we have like workers, and we use like SQS on AWS to manage those pipelines. But overall, the stack is mostly React on the front end, Node with Express in the backend for the API side of things. Awesome. So yeah, just choose something you love doing. Focus. Like I can't like express this enough. Like it's super important to focus on what's at front, the task that is at front, you know, like once you start getting like a few thousand users, even like 10, 20,000 users, like there's going to be like a lot of distractions, you know, like people reaching out to who want to, you know, potentially like acquire your business. And again, nothing wrong with that. If that's something you're ready to do at that time, 100% like go all in. But if you're not ready to sell, like don't go into those conversations. Same thing if you're not ready to raise money, don't go into those conversations. They're just gonna like distract you from the main thing, which is, to me, it's one of four things, which is either building, selling, talking to customers, or marketing your product. So those are the four most important things. Like always focus on those things. You're gonna have to end up saying no to like so many opportunities, so many conversations. But again, like the main resource you don't have is time, because it's you're alone, you're bootstrapped. So focus, super important. Another thing would be to do things yourself before hiring. So I did a lot of sales before bringing Sam into the fold. That helped a ton because like I knew exactly who I was looking for because I had done that job already. This might seem like a little contradictory with the one before, like which is like get help by hiring or outsourcing. You know, there is a time when you need to stop doing it yourself and outsource it. I would say like start developing some process, and when you feel like kind of comfortable with what that process is, like hire or outsource someone.
And did you connect to networks of solo entrepreneurs? I'm thinking Nomad List or
Yeah, so I really liked Indie Hackers.
Indie Hackers. Yeah, that was the
It
one I
was
was
like
saying.
really great. You know, I think they call it lurker when you don't actually like go in and post. You just like read. You're kind of like lurking. But honestly, it was incredible. Like I listened to their podcast every week. I was always like reading people's blog posts. There's something about like hearing from people that are doing the same thing as you that just gives you that motivation. Like it's honestly like when you're going like 2-3 years, like keeping your motivation high and your energy levels high are super important. It's kind of like a marathon, right? Whereas like with VC, I think it's kind of like it's a
Yeah,
sprint.
and the
You
discipline to get up and do the work every day when
yeah,
there's no one asking.
exactly. And it takes a long time, a super long time since you're bootstrapped. Like you can't like hire 3 engineers immediately or somebody from marketing and sales. So you're doing a lot of these things. So it's super important to focus, be patient. And one other thing I would say, like be disciplined about tracking customer feedback. Honestly, from a product side, you'd be surprised how great, quote unquote, you become a product when you just like take copious notes from demos or from any sort of customer or user interaction you have, and just put those in like product board or some sort of product management software and start finding patterns there. It's like like I feel like a lot of people will go on like demos or like user feedback meetings and not really like take detailed notes, and put them somewhere where you can like find patterns into what people want. But super important to do that. And those would be my main takeaways, really. Yeah. Any
And
questions about any of this before? I kind of like wanted to do a demo too right now, but
yeah, we'll jump into the demo right away. I have a question about this switch from a traditional career as a software developer in Seattle, which is, I guess, something pretty fancy
yeah.
for society, to jump into a solo entrepreneur. I mean, how did your close friends and family react? Did everybody thought you were kind of crazy,
uh,
or is it now
no.
something that people actually, believe it's kind of
Yeah,
cool?
so that's a great question. Yeah, no, honestly, like the jump took quite a while, I think. So I had been working on Huntr, like really working on it
Yeah,
for.
I had a question about when exactly did you decide? What made you decide to jump?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
because you were
No,
frustrated
totally.
at work, or
Yeah,
you know?
no. It was number one, it was like the product hunt launch, like that just like validated the idea times 1,000, right? Like people were like through word of mouth, like the user base was growing automatically. I had a ton of users. Maybe I hadn't figured out the revenue side of things, but there was like a lot of usage there. So by the end of 2017, honestly, like I was doing my full-time job, but I couldn't stop thinking about Huntr like for a second, right? So at that point, I was like, well, if I'm gonna do this, I might as well do it now since I have like all this energy. And it's almost like it pulled it up, like there was no other option for me because it's all I could think about. Um, at that point. And my employer at the time, I was working at this company called Ratific. They're incredible people. They run an incredible product. Um, and Mark, the founder, was just like, you need to do this. He was super supportive. They had like a goodbye party for me, and then they let me go to the office and work out of there for like a year and a half, I think I was working. So we had the goodbye party, and then next day, and for a year, I just kept coming into the office. So was also great. Like I had the support of my previous employer in doing this.
Awesome.
So yeah, I don't
Uh,
know. It was just like it was definitely thought out for quite some time, but it was at the point where I couldn't stop thinking about, like, I was doing my job and I would just like zone out thinking about Huntr. So I was like, I'm doing like my employer a disservice too. So yeah.
okay, I'll let you do a demo. Can I ask you to do a demo where you're reminded that you talk to a software developer, or at least wannabe software developer? So if you could give us a demo where you explain the different tricks in terms of UX, like what was the first features, what was the last feature, what kind of pain does it solve, this kind of, a demo which is not a salesy demo but a demo for, like, if you teach product management. Could you do that?
Sure, I'll do my best.
Yeah, if you can, thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, so I got this Huntr board here. Yeah, so maybe I can demo it as kind of like how the first few um features came through. So the first thing was like this left side menu wasn't really available at any point in time, and that makes a lot of sense. You don't want to add a menu just because everybody else is doing it. Like you want to add a menu when you have new things, like a certain number of things to switch from, right? So early on in Huntr's product, there wasn't really goals or documents or contacts or the browsing discovery feature. So this whole thing wasn't even there. So the focus was completely on the Kanban style board, where you drag and drop different opportunities. And that's what really triggered the whole thing. Like this Kanban section was there from day one, from the hackathon. And it's really what triggered the whole thing. And you might say like, oh, well, Trello does Kanban too. Like, why not use Trello? And that's a fair point. You can 100% use Trello. But then as I developed the product, I started thinking like, well, the beauty of of going into like a niche organizational or like productivity tool is you can build in, like you can have things that make sense for the use case kind of like built in, right? So for example, in Trello, you have to put a title, but maybe you can't see like a company name in the bottom. So that's one little thing that would differentiate us from Trello. Adding like the little company logo, the color of the main color from the company's logo being the color of the card, also added this sort of like fun addition to the tool. We actually got that a lot from users. Like, hey, we love this product because it feels fun to use, and while you're going through the job search, it's really serious stuff. And having something that kind of like brings a little bit of happiness into your life in terms of like UI is really great. So we always had these. The idea here is you add opportunities into your board. One other thing we wanted to make it easy was to like add companies. So you can do here, like start typing, and it'll offer companies that match whatever keyword you have. Enter a job title, so maybe like backend developer. Then you can save that job. You'll notice we have a little promo for getting our Chrome extension. I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. But you essentially save that opportunity. And then this is yet another opportunity to differentiate ourselves from Trello or from any other software out there. Essentially you have all the fields that a typical job would have, right? So you have like job title, application dates, interviews, offers, accepting an offer, the full job description if you want to add it there. You can enter like a location, so I could say Seattle, enter the URL. I'll show you in a bit how most of the jobs that are saved with our user base come from our Chrome extension, and the Chrome extension automatically populates a lot of these items. So maybe I'll show you that right now. Yet another way to differentiate the product from something like Trello is, I can go into LinkedIn, and this works in like thousands of different job search sites, where I can go in here and say, like, I find this job at, I don't know, this engineering job at PlayStation. You'll notice the Huntr Chrome extension lives in the bottom here. So it automatically parses the page and knows where the job title is, where the location, where the description is. So if I click here, it's going to show me already that there's a job in the page. And I can either save it directly to my board, or I can go in and kind of like update the information that I need and save that opportunity. So once it's saved into my my board, I can open back up that board, and you'll see that opportunity there. It's going to have all the information it pulled from LinkedIn automatically. So you'll notice the URL is there, location, the full job description. So again, yet another way to differentiate it from something like generic, like Trello or maybe Airtable. Again, like you can log different kinds of activities. Obviously, the typical ones are applying, interviewing, receiving offers. We've designed this with with those specifics in mind. So if I grab this job from a wish list and move it to applied, it's automatically going to log an application activity that I can go in and maybe like I didn't apply today, maybe I applied yesterday, but that information is going to be here. And I can even add a little note here. Applied through their applicant tracking system or something like that, and then I can also see that activity in my activity section over here. I can modify it, and I can also see all activities across all my boards in this activities tab at the top. So I can view like all my applications, all the interviews I've done, all the offers I've received, any kind of information that I want to log about my search, it's all here. I can also log like activities that are not necessarily related to like a specific job. Things like, I need to, write my curriculum, my CV, or meet with a coach, or, whatever types of activities I wanna have here. So the activities functionality came through pretty early on in the process of development. So number one was the Kanban board. I would say like number 2 or 3, third feature was definitely like keeping track of activities, at least like applications, interviews, and that sort of stuff. And that opened up kind of like a whole new world of opportunities. One of those was, okay, like if we're tracking all these activities like applications and interviews, then we can almost like have this funnel that shows job seekers where they're getting stuck. So we also developed like this metrics section where the job seeker can see a funnel of all the activities that they're, how they're performing and moving jobs through the typical stages of a search. So I can search for whatever date range here and see, okay, in the past year, I saved 14 jobs. I'm really like actively applying to those jobs. Wow, like 33% application and interview rate, like that's incredibly good. And then out of those, 33% I'm receiving offers from. It's really great. So once we had that activities section, now we had some data to play with and create these board metrics here. So that's a little on the metric side. You can get really detailed with this, like what jobs were saved, how many jobs are being saved on a monthly or weekly basis, what activities am I completing, in terms of applications, interviews, etc. And all that good stuff.
Could you compare yourself to other Huntr user and see if you're going bad or good, depending on what kind of job you're looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question.
It might be depressing, but
yeah, it would be really great to like maybe add some benchmarks here. Yeah, I think that's we've definitely thought about that. It's just it really is tricky, because like if we have a user who started using it kind of for like a few days but then didn't really move on, then it's a little hard.
you have to track only active ones.
Yeah, so we could work our way backwards from like people who really used it for a long time and base the benchmarks on those. Just something not something we've really done up to this point, but super.
And could you is there any of the feature that you see there or presented already that were like a silver bullet, like you see a massive impact in usage or in conversion or something that people say, whoa, now it's completely different? Like, for instance, when you launched on Product Hunt, the scraping Chrome extension already existed, or?
Yeah. So at that time, the Chrome extension did not automatically parse the job from the page, and I would say like that's what really drove a ton of like interaction, right? Because like when you think about product, there's like these, like if there it's like a funnel, right? It really is a funnel where like if you're not adding a job, then all these other extra features don't really matter at all. Like the first thing is like saving these opportunities. And we wanted to reduce the friction from that process as much as possible. So the whole thing about like, for example, like I just saved that job and maybe like I'm super interested in this other opportunity at Microsoft. So if I change that, I'm going to also see like a little automatic notification, and I don't even need to type anything, right? I can just start saving stuff into my board. So that feature of like automatically parsing the job from the page really like drove a lot of usage in terms of like job saving. It really was a game changer. Yeah, it was really incredible, and it's one of the features that people really love about the tool.
Is it one of the features that is gated to become premium?
No, it's not. You can use this for free. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so what was your I used to work in a streaming business. You mentioned Spotify. I was at a competitor, and so we had all this question about what kind of stuff you can offer for free to get traction, and what is the feature that will help you convert. So for instance, in music, it's offline on mobile, because if you cannot put offline your music, it doesn't work. But right. In your case, what is the feature that you get for paying members?
Yeah, so the main feature there is really number of jobs tracked, and I would say, like 90%, and that's 40. You can track up to 40 job opportunities on our free version, and then so if you want to
put a limit on the job search.
Limit on the number of jobs tracked in within a board. Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially, limit on these, and really like. It comes down to, and again, like I said, like most of our revenue comes from the B2B side, to the point where, maybe down the road we make the tool for individuals like free. But at this point, like most people, for most job seekers, 40 is more than enough. They're applying to maybe like 20 to 35 job opportunities. And it's so it's really kind of like working backwards, like analyzing your data set and saying like, what kind of revenue do I want to make? Like, because that's a possibility where you say like, okay, yeah, if I want 20% of my job seekers to be paying, then this is what this histogram of like number of jobs added, and I'm gonna draw the line here, you know. Yeah. So for now, it's number of cards tracked, really. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, so that's a little bit on the product. You know, a few other features here. There's a map view, so you can view where exactly the opportunities you have in your board are. So I could like zoom into San Francisco and see like, oh yeah, like there's a few opportunities here in San Francisco, a few in San Jose, like and get an idea of maybe what the commute is going to look like. You know, as people go remote, this is changing quite a bit. But yeah, this map view allows you to see all that info. You can also keep track of your contacts. So I could, you know, if I'm working with a specific hiring manager, I can add all their information here, link that hiring manager to one or multiple jobs, you know, keep track of that. Where we are just recently adding document upload. So I could go in here and, you know, upload my resume, cover letter, portfolio, all that information into the platform. The idea is
Can you
the
link
job.
a cover letter to a job offer?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a plan to link not only documents to jobs, but also link documents to activities like applications and interviews and that sort of thing. So you can get stats on, you know, this is your most effective resume, so to speak. So yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of like the tool from the job seeker side of things. Yeah, I don't know if we have time to
Yeah,
show
like
you
15, 20 minutes for Q&A. I've looked at questions on YouTube and on this StreamYard. One question is, I'm gonna start with one of the last one, which is linked to the demo. Is the Huntr app suggesting similar jobs based on the jobs on my wish list? Do you have this ability to, you know, bring jobs to your users?
Yeah, so we don't do that at this time. So like I said, remember I talked about like that year where I went like rogue and started building this like discovery tool. That tool is still kind of like accessible through these section at the top left. So you can go and search job opportunities here by role or whatnot. I could say like, oh, show me like software engineering positions in, you know, in San Francisco. And I can see that information. Like this would be kind of like a place to make use of what the question that was just asked, like, oh, can you suggest me new jobs? You know, like one way to do that would be to figure out like, okay, what kinds of jobs is this person kind of like looking for through their board choices, and then kind of like feed some of these job postings or suggest them to you. Not something we currently do, but super interesting. We have kind of like moved a bit away from this search and discovery side of things to focus on the job tracking thing. But yeah, great question. Really, it's not something we currently do.
Okay, and another question from Federico. What kind of obstacles would you say you're facing right now to scale? I mean, what's your main
Yeah, I think
challenge?
bandwidth really. Like we need to hire more people, and that's really what we're looking to do. We have a really exciting backlog of features. So definitely looking to hire, you know, a software developer or two within the next year. I think that's really the main obstacle, trying to grow the team, and that takes time, right? With Sam, my first hire, that took about 3-4 months. So yeah, it just takes time. Again, like also if you don't have like if you don't have venture backing, it's a bit slower because you have to grow as your profits are growing. But we're at a point where we can do that in the next within the next year, you know. So
And do you work remotely? Do you hire anywhere?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's something we've been talking quite a bit with Sam. Again, we're a two-person company.
But he's living in Vancouver like you? No, in Seattle.
In
Sorry.
Seattle, he lives in Seattle. Yeah, and we really love the energy of being in an office. But again, like I don't think we're in a position to say no to somebody great who might be somewhere else in the U.S. or internationally. Um, really, what we want is just really great people at the top of their game. I'm a big believer in like really small teams with like extremely talented people. I think it always comes to mind like Instagram. I think there were 12 people when they sold to Facebook, and that still blows my mind how small a team they
WhatsApp
had.
was 49, and
Yeah, exactly.
I remember the thing. It was funny. It was like 49 guys, like 35 developers, 10 people at support, and
Yeah.
one guy doing business, and no one was able to explain what he was doing.
Exactly. Like it's incredible, right? You have
product
all
and
these.
product and dev builders,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
people taking notes of user complaints.
Yeah.
Super important as well.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's incredible how much you can get done with a small team, for sure. Awesome.
And being in this HR space, how do you what's your take on those recent trends about? I mean, the COVID situation really broke mental barriers about going remote and hiring people wherever they work. I mean, we've seen that in Latin America. Our students from Le Wagon, when they reach a mid-level or
Mhm.
senior level, get higher in tons by American companies working abroad. But there is also this big resignation trend. What's your take on all those different situations? What do you see happening? That's interesting.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. To be really honest, like I don't keep that much track of like the new trends. I obviously like I know like a lot of there's a lot of interest in hiring developers internationally with remote becoming like more of kind of like the go-to default moving forward. And there's obviously like incredible talent in LATAM and Europe and whatnot. And um, I just think it's really interesting. And I think now that we're going into like in the next few months, the next year, we're going into like growing the team. I think it's going to be super interesting to see kind of like what we come up with in terms of. I think it gives even small companies like not an edge, but it kind of like equalizes the balance because now you have, the world is your recruiting ground, and really as a small team, all you need is like 3 or 4 people, right? Like unlike like a big or VC backed business where you like we have to hire like 60 people in the next like 3 months. It's different when you just need like 2, right? So you can be a lot more personalized in your approach of recruiting, and that's even more exciting when you think that you can recruit from anywhere in the world, right? Um, so yeah, I don't know. I'm not I don't have super strong opinions on the
No
movement.
problem.
Yeah.
And your user base is what chunk of it is is a US based, and what is international?
Yeah, great question. So I think we're at about like 80% US, about 20% international. And internationally, like a big chunk is like Canada, France, Brazil is also like definitely like a big. We have a lot of people from Brazil, South America. Yeah, I mean we have users from all over the world. I would venture to say from most countries around the world. Um, but yeah, about 80% US, the rest international.
Okay. Let me see if I see other question that come to us. No, I don't see any. If anyone in the StreamYard has a question. How do you plan to? Yeah, but this, to be honest, is a trick question. I read it. I'm not sure I understood. Can you see it, Rennie?
Oh, no.
Wait, let me read it to you. So Fabrizio from Vancouver, how do you plan to overcome the liability of new entrant in such a traditional industry? I guess the question is about how such a small player as a Huntr survive in the middle of Indeed and LinkedIn and all those big. Do they help you? Do they? I mean,
Right.
we
Yeah.
know at Le Wagon that scraping LinkedIn is kind of a full-time job. You have to always change things to be
Yeah.
able to get information from them. So were there any difficulty for you to address such a traditional domain?
Yeah. I think the beauty of Huntr is it's still like a niche product, right? Like we're talking about like a job search organization tool. And when you really think about it, like I feel like a lot of people think of like recruiting as like this one thing that everybody's trying to solve the same problem, but honestly, like it's like Huntr, what the problem that Huntr solves is very different from the problem that LinkedIn solves, I believe. Obviously, with the product that you're seeing in the screen right now, with like discovery and search, 100% like this would be one-on-one going against LinkedIn. But to be honest, like our bread and butter is really not this UI you're looking at. Our bread and butter is becoming like your private little personal place for the opportunities you're interested in, and that's something that LinkedIn is not doing. Indeed is not doing. At the end of the day, there's there's a disconnect between them building this and their revenue model, where them building this doesn't really increase their top of line revenue, right? Like it makes the experience for their users much nicer and much more, um, pleasant. But at the end of the day, when it comes to how much money is this going to make us, it's not really there. And that's the beauty of being a bootstrap business. You don't have to get to $100 million in revenue. You can build a company that's $1 million, $5 million, $10 million in revenue a year, and be super successful that way. And you don't have to play by the same rules as like a big public company.
Well, what's your level? Where do you put the success limit? What do you consider success for you on Huntr base? Reaching those numbers?
Personally, for me, it would be $1 million a year in revenue, which I think we can get
Well,
to.
it's gonna be done next year, you said. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But you're not gonna stop there, right?
we'll see. We'll see what opportunities come through. To be honest, like I love starting businesses, and those
Have you
first
started
few years.
others on the side?
I haven't, but it's something that I'm looking forward to in the future. Yeah.
So once you grow and then you pass it to someone and then you start again.
Maybe that could be it. And I don't know, like like I used to say like, oh, 10K is like success, and then but you're a different person when those things happen. So yeah, I don't know what future me is gonna think. Yeah.
Awesome. Rennie, thank you very much for your time, the experience that you shared, and being completely transparent and honest on the different things. I think it was awesome myself. I hope people on YouTube and in this call enjoy it as much as I did. But I just want to wrap up thanking you again, inviting everyone to discover Huntr. So Huntr.co, right? What's the URL?
Huntr.co, Huntr.co. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna put it in the
Yeah.
description. But that's clearly something that we now systematically recommend to our graduates, because it's a great tool.
Perfect.
Have a good night, everyone. Thanks again, Rennie, and hopefully we meet again. Bye bye.
Yeah. Thanks so much.